Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. So let's get started. This week I had 12 comics. We go least favorite to best pick of the week. So this is kind of average all for me, number-wise. So let's get started. Number 12 for me is Powers of X, issue 4. Again, I know I'm the minority with this book, but it just doesn't really interest me as much. The one issue I really liked was, the big issue a lot of people liked, which was House of X issue 2. Now, supposedly, these issues are highlighted in the back. The first issue was House of X issue 2, so that was a really important issue. It was an issue I really liked. Now, next week is House of X issue 5, so I'm hoping it's a big one, and I enjoy that as well. And then, of course, the last one being Powers of X issue 6, which comes out October 9th. So that is the week after New York Comic Con. So I'm hoping I enjoy those issues a little more, because it's just really slow for me. Again, very exposition-y, not really feeling the narrative, because I feel like we are getting pieces to the puzzle. That's definitely hasn't been an issue. But for me, being connected to the puzzle has been the issue. Me caring about the puzzle has been the issue. So, overall, I thought it was an okay issue. It just not my thing. So, hopefully I like next issue a bit more, because it is highlighted. And I hope to get more issues like that House of X issue 2, which was more character-driven, and just felt really not like any other issues. And again, less exposition heavy. It had a little bit more of heart. And the artwork for me is always solid, though. I enjoyed the artwork. I will say I don't think this is as strong as previous issues, especially when we go to the beginning pages with Professor Xavier and Magneto. Even though I tend to like the Magneto and Professor Xavier scenes the most, because I feel like you get the most story out of those, and obviously you're already connected to those characters, but once you get into the plants and all that, that's where they kind of lose me. But yes, Powers of X issue 4 gets 2 stars, and that is number 12. Moving on to number 11, which is Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 10. I usually don't pick up this issue, but I do want to show you guys the awesome Immortal Hulk variant cover there. So I usually don't get this book, but it is a 250 legacy issue, and they've been promoting it, that it's going to be connected to the Ultimate Universe. So if you like that series, you go check it out. So I dropped this series for a reason. I just couldn't get into it. I didn't really like the writing for the series. It just wasn't my flavor, even though I really like Miles as a character. It just wasn't doing it for me. So I did drop it, and I'm like, okay, this seems like a good jumping off point, but I will say, probably will continue to drop this series. Once again, very hard to get into the narrative. I think it's very chatty for the issue. Not a lot of gut punches in this issue as I thought it would, especially with the anniversary issues of Ultimate Universe. We usually get some good gut punches. Issue 250 of Ultimate Spider-Man was a really good issue. Or was it issue 200? It might be issue 200. But whatever that legacy issue was before the Ultimate Universe ended, and it was like the anniversary of Peter's death, was a really good issue. Obviously the death of Peter Parker was really good. So I compare it to those, and this one you get a little glimmer of, okay, the Ultimate Universe is probably still bleeding into this universe. We get to see its version of Green Goblin. We get the name drop of Ultimatum, and that's kind of it. Or not Ultimatum. I think it's, what's the character? That was the thing that ended this whole entire series. Let me see his name. Whatever they used to call the... Oh, it is, Ultimatum. However you pronounce that. But what they used to call the Avengers in the Ultimate Universe. But, yeah, that was cool. I enjoyed seeing the little name drops, but I wanted more. I wanted to see how this is going to affect Miles and how it's going to affect the series, but it just kind of feels like more of a drop and like, alright, we'll deal with this later. Also, don't really love the faces in the artwork. A lot of the jaw lines feel really weird, and it makes all the artwork feel off to me. So, overall, I gave this 2.5 stars. I do think that this has a bit more character-drivenness than, say, Powers of X, but it just doesn't interest me. I feel a little bored when I'm reading it, and again, I think the dialogue could definitely be shaved a bit here. So, Miles Morales Spider-Man gets 2.5 stars, and that is number 11. Moving on to number 10, which is Leviathan, issue 4, and this is the second to last issue of this series, and I still feel like we honestly don't even have a setup of what the series is about. And that kind of continues. I feel like this is a book of everyone just standing around a lot, talking. And that's most of this issue. The thing I did like was Batgirl, like, showing up on the computer because she's like, okay, I'm undercover, I'm a mole, and there's all these other people that are part of Spiral and the DEO. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Why haven't we seen them? I feel like the Batgirl reveal would have been so much better if we were following Batgirl and had other characters to follow besides the people doing nothing. These detectives were just like, all right, guess I'll go in another room now. So I don't love the pacing of this series. And then the last chapter, or the last page of this chapter, is there's more detectives. I think one of the biggest things and the biggest faults of this event is that there's too many characters not doing much. So now we're getting even more characters added on top of that with only 2 issues to spare to just set up what is Leviathan all about. Because honestly, that's what I'm asking. At this point, I don't know if I even care about who's under the hood. I just care about, like, wondering why this is an important event and why people care so much in this universe. So I've been really frustrated with this series because I want to like it. I think there's so much potential, and even this issue has a lot of potential. It was cool to see a little bit from Manhunter, but then it goes again to Bendis trying to make these C-list heroes popular. We had that with Rose and Thorn last week with Legion of Superheroes, and now this week we have it with Manhunter. I'm coming from a place who actually really likes Manhunter as a character, but I feel like her narrative is a little forced here. I want it to be a bit more organic, and then you have, again, other characters just standing around, like Green Arrow, just walking into other rooms, and Plastic Man. So, yeah, overall, wasn't a fan of this issue, and I hope for the best for these last 2 issues, but it's not really going in a positive direction for me. I did like the artwork, even though I don't think it's the strongest of Malieve's art, especially in pages like, let me see if I can find the page. It's like, let's see, it's with Lois and Superman. Over here, it kind of feels like, you know, a thumbnail of a panel besides like a finished product. So I feel like some of the artwork could have been a little bit more detailed. Some of it felt a little rushed because there's not a lot of facial expressions going on. But I love the coloring. Absolutely love the coloring for this book. I think it brings a really cool tone to the series. So, and also, I mean, Malieve's artwork is really good. I'm kind of nitpicking on that side. I just don't think it's as good as some of his other previous work. So, overall, going to give that 2.5 stars, and that is number 10. Moving on to number 9, which is Captain Marvel issue 10. I love this cover. This is my cover of the week. I really like the puzzle pieces going on here. But the issue itself references a lot from issue 1. I kind of wish was weaved into the series a little bit more. So we finally find out who this other superhero is, and of course she's evil, and it's this reporter from issue 1. And I'm like, I don't really remember her, so that doesn't impact the narrative that much. And it really, the issues leading up to that information. There's a lot of exposition. There's another kid that showed, I actually had to reread issue 1 to remember some of these characters. So I was like, oh, that kid showed up in issue 1, and that's why they're still talking about her. So I kind of wish some of that narrative was weaved in, especially because we had that kind of offshoot storyline with the post-apocalyptic world thing going on, and then we got back into this story. So yeah, I like the series, and I think it has improved, but I just kind of wish there were some of these hints weaved into the series a little bit better. So I thought this is a bit of an exposition-y issue with good artwork, some good character beats overall, but not my favorite issue of the series. So overall, giving that 3 stars, and that is number 9, I believe. Alright, moving on to number 8. This is higher than usual, and actually probably an issue I've enjoyed more than others, and that is Batman issue 78. Definitely far from a perfect issue. I still have a lot of issues with Batman, even though I really loved it up until issue 50 where we got the wedding, and I was gun-ho, like, I'm gonna enjoy this, you know, the breakup means something, and then I didn't really like the structure of the book anymore. And that similar structure is here, where, you know, you have the famous lines of, it was a boat, it was the rooftop. I'm like, I am so tired of the rooftop boat thing. So I didn't really like that. And it's the cat and mouse game, which, you know, I definitely see where the arc is going. It just isn't my flavor of storytelling. It just felt really repetitive. And then, yes, you do kind of have that moment in the end where you're like, finally, they're, I guess, together because they kiss and they're like, oh, I'm sorry type thing. So hopefully, cross our fingers, next issue, they're not like, nah, that was that was just us kissing. So hopefully this means they are together by the end, because we waited a while. And I do like that they kind of have their talk about what actually happened and how they feel about their feelings, even if it was very back and forth and beating around the bush and didn't need to take a whole issue to do so. I think you could have just had those last 3 pages and that could have been the scene. But overall, I'm happier with the direction it's going. Just didn't really love the execution of the book. So overall, giving it 3 stars. Artwork is still gorgeous and I still love how cinematic it looks, but just not feeling the story structure as much as I used to. It's getting a little bit too repetitive for me. So Batman issue 78 gets 3 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, which is Young Justice, issue 8. And yes, this is the issue where Tim Drake finally gets his new name, and guess what? It's Drake. So, it's Bird, which is cool. I don't think he needs a new name. It kind of felt forced to me in the issue, and also coming from like a superhero perspective, you're using your last name as your superhero name. I think you'd look him in the face and be like, oh, it's Tim. Especially because he does have a secret identity. I don't know if Tim's still going to school, but previous versions of Tim before this, he was going to school, he had a secret identity, he had a life. So, I mean, now he's in the multiverse, so how much of a life can he have? But I think he was trying to go to college and all that, so if he wants a life, you know, his superhero name being his last name is going to be kind of tough. But I got it. I got where it went, and I'm, you know, whatever. It's his new name. If he's a cool character, I don't really care what his name is, so go on, Drake. But this issue, I like the potential of it. I do think that it did a little bit too much. Like, I don't know if I needed this whole multiverse world before even getting to know the team. Even though I'm a hardcore Young Justice fan. I'm a hardcore fan of these characters. So, like, I know this team, but especially the new characters. Like, I don't know how they mesh. And just seeing their alternate, like, versions, I'm like, I don't care about this yet. I want to know them as a team before I go into a multiverse storyline. And that's kind of how I felt. But I did like that Stephanie obviously monologued the whole thing. That was cool, even though it was really exposition-y until you get to the point. I'm like, okay, this is Steph. You got the purple text. I'm like, is this Steph? Is this Steph? It's Steph! And I love her voice. I really think Bendis gets Stephanie correct in a lot of ways where I feel like a lot of writers haven't. So, in recent years that has been writing her. So it was really nice to get that spunk for her. And again, no matter what happens, the world is collapsing, everything's going horrible, she's still going to be a hero and fight. So, and also I like the connection between Tim and Steph. That was definitely the best portion of the issue for me. Also really like the artwork. I think it's really good. I like seeing the alternate versions of them. It kind of has a Dan Mora feel to it. So I really enjoyed the art. So overall, not the best issue of the series, but I think it's better than some of the previous ones. I also think that telling this story is way too soon. You didn't need a whole issue about their alternate versions of them. I do think it could have been paced better, but I think it has a bit of potential as well. So, Young Justice issue 8 is $4.99 too, unless that's just the variant cover. But I'm going to give that 3 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is Ghosted in LA, issue 3. A book that's been a lot of fun for me. I think with issue 3, though, I don't like the main character. She's kind of a little bit too selfish, and I know that's kind of the point of her character, is that hopefully she's gonna grow, but even when her boyfriend kind of comes out to her, does come out to her, she's like, oh, woe is me, you know? And I thought she was gonna be a little bit more supportive. Not saying that she wasn't, I just thought it was gonna play out a little bit more about him. So I did like that it ended up tying in with this other ghost story and that he ended up knowing. I thought that was really cool, and I'm excited to see where that's gonna go for their friendship. But I really hope our main character, you know, is less selfish, because it's gonna be a little harder to follow her if she's not growing from her mistakes. See, she's got to notice why she's so isolated, and I guess why she's being ghosted. But overall, it was a fun issue, even if I think that, again, I think she could have handled things a little better in this issue, but we'll definitely see where that friendship ends up going, and her story ends up going. And it's cool learning a bit more about the ghosts. I do think it's a little crowded at this point. I don't know if I'm really feeling every narrative of the ghost story yet in this ensemble cast, but I think it has a lot of potential to get there for me. So Ghost in LA issue 3 gets 3 stars. And honestly, one of the best aspects is the artwork. It's really expressive and cartoony and slice of life aspect, and a little bit webcomic-y too, which I really like. So Ghost in LA, like I said, that gets 3 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Sabrina the Teenage Witch, issue 5, and don't worry, we are getting a sequel series from the same creative team. Just to show you that, I also saw an article about it like a day ago, so we are getting a sequel in 2020. Hopefully we don't have to wait too long, though. Hopefully it's earlier 2020 and not like October 2020, like a year, but I enjoyed this issue. I will say I think some of the fighting was a little long, like I didn't quite care as much about the battle, but I like that it connected to the students and it had to do with a teacher. I thought that was cool. And then once we got to the second half of the issue, I really enjoyed the high school drama. I like the stuff with Harvey. I like that girl, I guess the popular girl, finds out that maybe Sabrina's a witch, and, you know, her friend likes somebody. I have a feeling it's that popular girl. So there's a lot of good drama going on by the end of the issue that's very Archie-like and very Sabrina-like. So I enjoyed that. I think Kelly Thompson and Veronica Fish are a really good creative team. I like that Fish is back on the Archie titles. So, yeah, overall, and I think her husband works on this title as well. Yeah, so it's Veronica and Andy Fish that works on it. It's really crisp and fun, and overall, really like the series. If you're looking for a good mesh of chilling adventures and Sabrina the comics and even a little speck of the sitcom, I think you'll really enjoy this series. I think every Sabrina fan will get something out of it. So, given that 3.5 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, and I'm going to sip of water, and then we'll move on to that title. Number 4 for me is Baby Teeth, issue 16. This is a series that kind of gets delayed sometimes, but this, between issue 15 and 16, it wasn't too bad of a wait. And this is a really solid issue, because it felt like a new chapter. So if you haven't been really catching up on this series, I think this is a great jumping on point. Where we do get an explanation what's been going on. They've been in hell. Their dad looks like he's dead. We'll have to see where that goes in the future. Their mom comes back. They get out of hell. And I like that Sadie goes back to her video diaries, because that really brought me back, bringing me into that structure. Because I think it kind of lost itself a little bit in hell. And again, with the delays, it didn't help. But I really liked how it sucked me back in with this chapter. And there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of good character work with Sadie and her son and their relationship, and I love the artwork, and I keep saying this, it's dark and moody, but it's not muddy, and that's, I think, a problem that some of these horror books tend to get, is that they get so dark that you can't really see what's going on. Here it's the perfect match of light and dark, and it really works, and again, makes it the right type of moody for this book. So overall, I'm going to give Baby Teeth issue 16 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Go-Go Power Rangers issue 23, and I got the Instagram variant, which is cool. I'm curious if Taylor Made is supposed to be like Tom Taylor, because I'm pretty sure his handle is Tom Taylor Made, so that was pretty cool. And then you have like Jay Scott, so you have all the different friends there too, so pretty cool cover. Although, I mean, Trini, you gotta charge your phone a little bit, so she needs to charge her phone. But going back to it, the issue was really solid. I think it really had a lot of the different stuff I enjoy about Power Rangers. You know, first of all, the core of the issue is them trying to defeat this bunny creature. And, you know, that's just classic Power Rangers, but there's a lot more going on that makes it more like the comics, more adult-like than the television show. And that's Jason dealing with the memories of Shattered Grid and what this means for the future villains, and does he tell his team or not, and him being distracted from that. And then Trini feeling really, upset that she almost endangered the place that she was trying to help, and her having to quit that. You know, what sacrifices do you have to make as a Power Ranger? So I really enjoyed that aspect as well. And then just the battle was a lot of fun. Them coming together, outsmarting the bunny in a different way. Psychologically, it was cool. And then, of course, I love the Matt and Kimberly stuff, where, you know, Kimberly finally has an outlet outside the Power Rangers to talk to. And then there's like this little hint of like, you know, is Matt really interested in being a Power Ranger? You know, how far will he go to be a Power Ranger? Is he going to use this information for bad? Like, what's going to happen? And I think there's a lot of possibilities with the character, and I hope that he doesn't go turn to darkness, but I think he is going to be desperate for power, and that's something we definitely seen throughout his arc for the series. So overall, I thought it was a really solid issue. My only nitpick probably is that the fight felt a little long, but at the same time, I think we needed that. We needed that kind of breather and that classicness of Power Rangers to get into the heavy stuff with what's going to happen with Shattered Grid. So, overall, I thought this was a really solid issue and one of the better issues of Power Rangers for me in Necessary Evils. So, giving that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Invisible Woman, issue 3. I love this book. If you're looking for a really good espionage book, I say read this one. I know it's been torn for a couple of people. I've definitely seen people not like it, but I love it. I love the different take on Sue, and I feel like, I keep saying this, don't underestimate Sue, and that's the point of this book, is that everyone keeps underestimating her, and not knowing, the true power she has, and she truly is one of the most powerful characters of the Marvel Universe, and I love the way she uses her powers. It's so unique, and really works with the espionage flavor, her changing the color of her hair, the color of her, skin. We get to see her, have more Italian features, which was really cool for her espionage thing that she was doing. And then her utilizing her force fields and talking to Adrian's wife and finding out what that's all about. So, and then in the end, you got a cliffhanger that Adrian is working for the bad guys. So, what's going on there? And look how crazy that fight is, where this woman presses a button and Sue's nose bleeds and she can't hear anything or, focus on what's going on. And she outsmarts a lot of people in this issue. It just feels like such espionage perfectness to me. And I just love Sue's voice in this book, and it's just a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a good espionage book, a good Fantastic Four title, definitely go check out Invisible Woman. I'll give that 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. And the artwork is just so good. Some of the best artwork on stands right now. And I said the same thing when the artist was doing Jessica Jones. Moving on to number 1, and that is Amazing Spider-Man issue 29, which I also got the Immortal Hulk variant cover. And I love this. This is exactly what I want in an Amazing Spider-Man book, is seeing a lot of the supporting characters and how that affects Peter's life and how that affects their lives. That's the Spider-Man I love. And we get to see that with MJ. MJ is moving to do this movie, which is why she's getting her own series for 2 months, or she's getting the series longer for that, but she's going to be away for 2 months. And we get to see Peter saying, okay, I'm going to be at the airport, I'm going to support you, we're going to do this. And of course, we get to see he can't do it. And we actually get to see a character that I don't believe has been in Amazing Spider-Man. She's been in other Spider-Man titles, like Spectacular and I believe Friendly Neighborhood, but I don't think ever Amazing Spider-Man, and that's Teresa. And I love how they reintroduce her. I enjoy her character, and I enjoy seeing what writers could do with her, because she has such a fresh, blank slate here. Since she's such a new character and was introduced a couple of years ago, but then they didn't do anything with her. So it's always fun to see what they tend to do with that relationship. And I like how she interacts with Aunt May in this issue too, and that she's a badass all on her own. And so anyway, so she and Peter end up teaming up together, and obviously Peter can't help MJ, but I really like that MJ gets to connect with Carly. I've really enjoyed that aspect too. Like, they're the two previous ex-girlfriends of Peter. Now MJ's dating Peter again, and they can still be friends and kind of relate to the level of, hey, we dated a superhero and you're still dating a superhero. And they've ended up connecting and being friends, and Carly ends up helping pack the bag and try to zip it up, and drives her to the airport too, which was really nice. But in the end, MJ's like, hey, I understand. I love the little things that Aunt May has to say about their relationship, that they keep coming together, and like, why don't you just learn, you should stay together. And she gives the ring to Peter, and Peter wanted to propose to her, and that's why he wanted to so badly be with MJ, because that was going to be the moment. And then of course, you kind of have the take on the one more day line, and he says, maybe some other day. When's the day going to happen? And this kind of goes into my theory that I've been saying since, honestly, issue 1. I really think Nick Spencer's endgame is that he's going to revert one more day. As they get closer to a marriage proposal, we have Aunt May getting sick. Will they remember once that engagement happens? Will memories flood? Like, is that going to kind of break the spell? So what's going to happen? And what does that mean for their relationship? Do they, have all these memories but still be like, hey, we're just getting married? I'm trying to think, there was another title that did something similar with that, where I think it was DC actually, yeah, with Lois and Clark, where they remembered their past and they're like, oh yeah, we did have this old past, so here we go. So DC kind of did it. So I'm curious if Spider-Man would do its own take. Will their memories flood of everything that's happened? So yeah, I really enjoyed this issue. I thought it was really well balanced. There was a lot of good action, a lot of good characters introduced here, and a lot of plans for the future and where this is going to go. So I gave this 4.5 stars. Artwork was really solid as well. I don't know who the artist was. Carlos Lopez, really, really sleek artwork. Nice facial expressions as well. Good action. So overall, really enjoy the colors. A lot of brightness here. So again, giving that 4.5 stars. Really enjoyed that one, and can't wait to see where Amazing Spider-Man's gonna go. There's a lot of great things being set up here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of your comics this week? What was your least favorite and your best pick of the week and everything in between? Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Go check out my Twitter and my Facebook page in the description below. There are links for that. Also go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her Dancer. And then every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Frontline Live, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. So be sure to check that out as well. Thanks guys. Bye.